My name is Whitney. Real quick about me, I've been with Salon Scale for the last 4.5 years. My day-to-day is talking to salon owners, telling them about parts plus labor and showing them what Salon Scale can do for the business. So I'm really excited to host this webinar. I also have Casey on the call. Her video is not on. I just saw her without the video on, so we're just thankful for that. But she will be monitoring. So if you guys have any questions throughout, sometimes the chat is disabled. So I would say maybe just post your questions in the Q&A. And she will be able to answer them kind of as you go, or if it's like a more detailed question, we can touch on it at the end too. But feel free to ask questions as you go. We love them. So, all right, without further ado, let's get started. So, the main goal for today is to give you information on a really effective pricing model. Not to convince you one way or another, really to just absorb that information and see if it's going to be the right fit for you. But the reason we started this webinar and why I love hosting it is because, like I said, I talk to salon owners when they first kind of get started with salon scale, are interested in salon scale, when salon scale is a twinkle in their eye. And I get to see, down the road when they adopt this pricing model, what it can do for the business. And I get that feedback and it's really, really rewarding. Because, kind of salon scale was created to be used with parts plus labor. And when we really first started, we would just kind of say like, oh, use it however you want. Salon Scale is a tool that's going to get you these color costs in real time, and whatever you want to do with them is fine. Because personally, for me, I was kind of afraid of any pushback of someone saying like, why would we charge that way? That sounds horrible. This is a luxury service. We're not going to charge parts plus labor. But now, it's too big to be quiet about it, and to keep it to ourselves anymore, and just hope that kind of people learn on it on their own. It's just the impact of it is too great. And so we created this webinar to really kind of showcase what it can do, and the best practices. So we'll go from there. However, before we kind of get started on where it can go, let's talk about how we got here. So really quickly, Salon Scale was created by a commissioned salon owner. Her name is Alicia Soulier, and she's the CEO and founder of Salon Scale. She started out her journey as a stylist, graduating and working as a commissioned stylist in a salon. She then, really grew her clientele, wanted to go independent, wanted to keep more of her money, right? And so she opened up a suite, did that for a few years, and then she wanted to be a salon owner. She's a true entrepreneur, and so she created Capelli Salon, which is a beautiful salon. It's still in existence today. It was always like a high-end luxury salon, and it always did really well. And revenue-wise, so she was doing about 1.4 million in revenue, but every month she was asking herself, where is all my money? Why are we doing 1.4 million in revenue and I'm not a millionaire? Why can I barely afford payroll? Why am I having to, take from the business to, why am I skipping paychecks? Why do I have to wait for, a few days after I do payroll to build up the cash flow to make a color order? Like, where is it all going? And so, somebody I talked to last week said when her accountant looked into her kind of expenses, it was a leaky bucket. I like that term. She said, you have a leaky bucket somewhere, which is exactly the same thing that Alicia found. She said, somewhere along the line from A to B, all the profit is going out the window. It's not making it to my bank account. So where is it? And when she really pulled back, she found out it was all slipping out the back bar. Why? Because you don't have technology to tell you what your cost of goods are in real time. There's no way to know that as a salon owner. So the model is kind of set up for failure. Last thing we're going to touch on, kind of like the way it is now versus the way it could be, is why the traditional model isn't working. And I could honestly spend like the whole webinar just on this page, but if you're here, you probably already know, like there's something's not right. It's not working. Why am I not profiting the way I should? And so I'm going to focus on a couple things. One, there's honestly a lot of reasons, but I'll just pick kind of the top couple, the ones that come to mind. One, color is going up and up and up, which you probably also already know if you're here. It's doubled, if not tripled, in the last however many years. Also, the amount of color keeps going up. So when you think of like what people are posting on Instagram, People bring those in, or even the AI generated ones now. Those use a lot of color. They're super dimensional. People get root tabs now. Just a lot of different things that weren't kind of the case before. So color's going up, the price of it's going up, the amount used during the service is going up, and you couple that with a pricing model that has a razor thin profit margin, which most salons do. And when you have a thin profit margin, you need to be absolutely meticulous about your expenses, because being off by a dollar makes or breaks it, right? If your profit margin's thin, like with a salon, you bring in a lot of people and you get a portion of each one. So that portion has to be right. It has to be spot on. And how you do that is making sure your expenses are covered and having your numbers dialed in. But the way the traditional model is set up really isn't covered for that. Like most salons that I talk to, they'll include like a set amount of color within their base and they'll just charge for extrables. And oftentimes those extrables don't get rang in. And let's say you include 40 grams of color within that base price. Well, how often are stylists not mixing up 40 grams? There's a lot of ways to fail, and the whole thing is very vague and gray. What Parts Plus Labor does is take a very gray pricing structure and makes it black and white. It streamlines it, makes it consistent so you can profit consistently, so you can forecast, you can know, okay, the average balayage, I make this much of a profit margin, and you make it every single time because you're taking the variable out. That variable being the cost of color. So if the client pays for that each time, you can hit those consistent profit margins. All right. So salon cash flow management issues. So oftentimes, so like I said, I meet with salon owners day to day, do demos, and we talk about the first thing I like to say, like when we get on the call, is what brings you here today? What made you book this meeting? And more often than not, what they will say is that I want to reduce waste in the salon, particularly if it's a commissioned salon owner. They say, waste is our biggest issue. If we could get waste under control, like we'd be in a good spot. And so whenever I hear that, I think, okay, what you really want to do is increase cash flow, because waste is a super tangible way to see like all my money's going there, right? Like how much color costs. You're feeling that, every single day when you purchase a color, it's adding up and up and up. And then you see these half empty bowls of color in the sink. And so you're thinking, okay, this is where all my money's going. But the reality is really much bigger than that. Waste is, even, let's say in the high end, like let's say like waste is $1,000 a month. Okay, so you reduce waste by $1,000 a month. Is that going to allow you to take a paycheck? Is that going to allow you to grow? And like, let's say you then hire a junior stylist, you're going to be right back there. So we need a way to make sure that like waste is covered. Waste is going to protect you against waste, protect you against rising color costs, and that is Parts Plus Labor. So let me be a little bit direct in saying that if you are looking for a way to increase cash flow in the salon, it's not waste. Nothing will be more effective than switching this pricing model. And it will be immediate. You'll see the results right away. As soon as you do it, you're going to see this is where the leak has been. And not only will it reduce cash flow, but again, it's going to protect you against waste and those rising color costs, because you're going to take whatever you use during that service and you're going to pass it on to the client. So even if there's a little bit of waste, it's $1 or $2 of waste added to the client versus the owner eating that cost of all the waste for all the stylists for every single client. That's where the profit goes. So man, we're really cruising through today. Okay, so that leads us to really the solution, which I've already touched on, but it's Parts Plus Labor equals the price. What does that exactly mean? So you take what you charge for your time, that's the labor, and you take what the cost of goods is. So really the most, the biggest one that comes to mind is color. That's a huge expense, but also things like gloves, foils, even coffee. You don't want to itemize these things, but all these things add up to what you had to pay for that client to come in. And you have to, again, back to the thin profit margin, you have to know these expenses. You have to have them dialed in if you're going to turn a profit in a salon. It's just the way that it's not that anybody has done anything. It's just the way that the pricing model is set up in a salon. It's thin. And so you make money by having a lot of clients and by having that pricing dialed in, black and white, streamlined and consistent. So, it's the way that every other industry already charges. When you think of, and we'll touch on, kind of some of the industries next, but it's a way that consumers are used to paying, and they pay this way because it's a model that works. So the other industries already figured it out. And now that we have salon scale, that's going to tell you that cost of goods in real time, you can charge this way too. You don't have to double your prices. You don't have to start selling more retail, particularly when half of it pops up on Amazon now anyway. They're kind of throwing you under the bus with that. So it's a way, and you don't have to switch to like a cheaper color line, anything like that. If you are looking for a way to increase cash flow in the salon, the answer is right there in your back bar, and it's something that you're already selling to clients. They're already paying for it. You just have to do a simple switch, a shift in the pricing model. Okay. Now, yeah, like I said, we didn't reinvent the wheel here. Every other industry already charges this way. If they're able to know their cost of goods in real time, why? Because it's super effective. It's a way that by the time that client walks out, the cost of goods is paid for, right? If you know that what you had to upfront to pay for that service is paid for by the time they walk out, you know you're going to make money. It's the best way to charge. So let's take a mechanic, for example. So you get a breakdown on your bill of what the product costs and what they charged you for their time. Or if you get an oil change, and let's say your car takes 4 quarts of oil, you're charged for 4 quarts of oil, right? The way that many in the salon industry are pricing right now is you'll service cars that take 4 quarts of oil, or cars that take 8 quarts of oil, and you're charging everybody for 6. That's leaving a lot of money on the table. And it's, again, inconsistent profit margins. You'll make a lot of money on some, you might lose money on others, you might simply break even on others, but it's inconsistent and leaves you unable to like really forecast what you're going to do. If you charge that client for that variable, all those answers will be solved. You'll know consistently what you're going to profit, and the color is paid for. So I want to touch quickly on emotional pricing as well. So this is a big reason as well why kind of the traditional model doesn't work for a lot of people. This is supernatural, particularly when you have a really empathetic, high, like emotionally intelligent group of people and creative artists. When somebody shoots you a DM and says, "What's your price for this?" Do you immediately want a discount? That's yes. Like, yes, whether you think that they're, going to like scoff at your prices, that doesn't feel good. Or whether you start questioning yourself and saying, like, am I really worth that? Like, am I going to lose a client? Like, do they think, am I good enough? And it's what happens when pricing structures are vague, or if somebody books in for the wrong thing and they get there and they're like, oh my gosh, like what they actually need is a lot more money. Do you want to be upfront about that, or do you just want to like give them a deal and then potentially lose money on the service, right? So there's a lot of gray area within the pricing model. So again, the best way to combat emotional pricing is make it black and white. It's fair and transparent to the client and to the salon. So I would say that salon scale works extremely well with an hourly pricing model and adding that product cost on top. When you charge hourly, you're always accounting for your time. There's no like gendered pricing. You're not doing like male and female haircuts or anything like that, or any like wiggle room. And a client can go on your service menu, and they're not just like now picking the cheapest thing. They see your hourly rate. So I would say I like that both as a client and then, for salons. However, even if you don't want to charge an hourly rate, even if you want to just keep a base price and add the salon scale price on top, still know what your time is worth. Still know what you need to be making each hour that you're working to like a minimum break even, but then also make the kind of money that you want to make. So still, if you haven't done so, do that homework, know your break even number, and then what it would look like to add that salon scale price on top. Now I want to take you to a real salon. And I pulled these off of just 10 months of data. So this is a real salon scale customer. They have 13 stylists. They've done over 3,700 sessions in a year. And really what I want to focus on is this middle number. So color revenue. So this is why when I say it's bigger than waste, this is what I mean. So $130,000 in color revenue is what they've rang through Salon Scale in simply 10 months. So the current model is set up to absorb this, right? If you're purchasing $130,000 worth of color, that's an expense in the business. What Parts Plus Labor does, the real power that it has, is taking this from an expense in the business into a revenue stream. So I see a lot right now, salon owners asking each other, what are you guys doing for extra money this year? So what are you introducing? What are you selling now? Are you doing new services? Like I said, the answer is right here in your back bar. This is like a stream of money that can again go from an expense into money in your pocket and not only fix that leak, but again, add more, allow you to grow. Just reducing waste by $200 a month, that's not going to grow the salon. This will. This will give you money for renovations, for education, to retain your top stylist, things like that. This is where it's at. Okay. The last two slides, wow, I'm cruising. Okay, so the last two slides are my favorite. And why? Because they're probably the biggest objections I get to salon owners salon owners, yeah, wanting to switch to this pricing model. And that is what's in it for the stylist? How do I get my stylist on board? And what will the client say? So these are some big hesitations that kind of we deal with. And I'll touch on really what I have to say about them and then just kind of my experience dealing with these. First, what's in it for the stylist? How do you get your stylist on board? This is a big concern often in salons because it's like, yeah, that sounds great for you, the owner, but like, how's this going to help me? So now I have to put all my formulas through here. Like, how does this help? And I will say, oftentimes this is a concern and stylists might have some pushback initially, but my favorite feedback from salon owners and stylists is that they love it. And we really did design this app with the stylist in mind. We want to help them stand behind their pricing, feel confident when they get to the checkout that this is the price. And you have that data right there. But really, it's a little bit more than that. So there's a saying that our CEO loves to say, and that's when the salon owner takes care of the stylist take care of the clients, and the business takes care of itself. So more than anything, we want to make sure that all the stylists are happy. And why is that relevant? Because the average time that a stylist stays with the salon is 4 years. So, the stylist comes on, they grow and grow and grow, they get better, they get more education. And then once they build like this massive clientele, they say, okay, I'd like to actually take more of my money home, so I'm going to go independent. How do you keep that from happening as a commission salon owner? Is you have to be a little bit more competitive. And how do you be a little bit more competitive is by removing the cost of goods from the equation. So if you have the client pay for that cost of goods, again, you're going to profit on the service, you can start to play around. You have more wiggle room with offering a higher commission rate. So really, first and foremost, is the opportunity for the stylist to make more money. But I would say secondly, is just working for a business that has more cash flow. So, when the owner, if you're working for a commission salon right now, and let's say the owner is not taking a paycheck and they're over breathing over your neck about waste and what you're mixing, and this is too much, and did you charge appropriately? And it's like that because they could be in the red, and it's tense. And I've worked in a environment like that for 6 years, and it was tense. Like we knew we were in the red the entire time we worked there. There were no bonuses, there were no Christmas parties, there were no annual raises. I mean, it was dark, and we had, stressed out leadership because we were always in the red. And it really was an enjoyable place. But when you have that more cash flow, then you have, again, the money for renos. You can do specialty coffees and just things that make it a really enjoyable place for the stylist to work. And when that owner isn't stressed out, and we're not worried about money, when you're not overly concerned about waste, we can all just breathe a sigh of relief, and that becomes a really fun environment to work in. So I will say, however, if there's one thing to get right about introducing salon scale, it's this. Make sure that you know the answers to all of their questions before you present it to them. Don't throw it on them. Do your research, know your answers, and then present it to your stylist and say, this is what we're doing. This is what's going to happen from it. This is what it has the potential to do. Just be on board with me. Just give it a try. And then you can all reap those benefits. So that brings me to pretty much my last slide, which is what will the client say? A lot of salon owners lose a lot of sleep over this. And I understand why, because right, your clients they're your livelihood. If you lose clients, what do you have? And the thought of switching your pricing model is a scary one. But here's what I'm here to tell you. So I don't think in again 4.5 years of working here, I've heard one time, this was years ago too, one time from a salon owner that some clients had some pushback. Now, it's possible that it happens, that you hear it from one or two, but there are thousands that don't. And how do you get them to be on board with it is you're transparent. You're taking them from a vague pricing model to one that now they just pay for the amount of color that was used during the service. So you're not taking the average, you pay for what you use. If you want more color, you pay a little bit more. If you chop your hair off, you pay less. That happened to me. I chopped my hair off a couple years ago and my price went down. So it's fair, it's consistent, and it's transparent. And really, right now in the salon, when color goes up, the salon has two options. So you can either make less money or you can raise your prices just to be where you were at before. So just to make the amount of money that you were making before. It's going to stunt your growth, right? Like if you're just doing price increases just to make the same amount of money because of inflation, how do you ever grow from that? It's really difficult. So oftentimes salons will do, kind of a big price increase annually to cover inflation, right? But this parts plus labor takes that color inflation out of the equation. That inflation price gets passed to the client, but it gets passed at like $1 or $2 at a time. It's not all falling on the salon owner. So you don't have to do these blanket price increases every time your color goes up. That takes care of itself. No matter what, if color could double tomorrow, that will take care of itself. You don't have to switch color lines. You don't have to again do these blanket price increases. Now when you do your price increases, it's on talent, it's on demand, and it's to grow the salon, right? It's not just to account for inflation to keep you making that same amount you were before. You, as a salon owner, so whether you have a team or whether you're a solo, you took a risk, you did a big investment, you want to make money, right? And you deserve to. So how do you do that? One, just make sure your expenses are paid for. Switch to a pricing model that's going to allow you to grow. And this is how you do it. All right. Well, I would say, holy cow, I'm 7 minutes early. That's mostly what I have to say. I would say your next steps. What our CEO likes to say is the best time to start charging parts and labor was yesterday. But the great news is that we make it really easy for you to get started. We do have a free 14-day trial. That is what this QR code is. If you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to sign up for your trial. You might already be in trial. I would say if you are, we're checking in with you throughout the trial. So just let us know if you have questions, if you want to talk about this more. That's great. So, but if you have not yet, scan this QR code, start your trial, it's a breeze. You don't have to put a credit card in. You can start today, play around with the app, get a general idea of what your color is costing you, and then you can upgrade anytime from there. If you're like, yes, I'm on board, I want to go straight into it, head to our website, go to pricing and pick your plan. That's the real deal. But if you want to just kind of get a sense, again, then just start with a trial. That's a good place to start, to just kind of start to see those costs and what it would look like if you added this price on top. So today was a lot about the why the current model doesn't work, why parts plus labor works. The next part is the how. The how is on the other side. So we gatekeep that a little bit, but we do connect you with somebody who will help you get this set up in your salon, who will, we have resources, we have pricing, service menus, we have how to tell your clients, we have how to talk to your staff, we have all that. It's just on the other side. So start here, get signed up today. We will make sure that if you're in this, like we will get you there. We will not let you fail at this. We have helped thousands of salons before. And again, if you're willing to put in the work, so are we. So again, start with this free 14-day trial or head right to our website, salonscout.com, hit the pricing page, sign up for a real plan. If you want to be connected with somebody right away, and get this started, that's the way to do it. Because the faster you get this started, the sooner you're going to see an impact. Every day that goes by, those color costs are compounding. So think of what you could be making.